You hear about all of these situations happening across the world, and many people like to put blame on very particular things, such as video games, which is one of them, and I think that what I'm about to talk about is an exact scenario of putting the blame on video games, because someone has just sued Minecraft and many other games for the most ridiculous reason. Main Mum sues makers of popular video games Roblox, Minecraft and Fortnite. Casey Henderson is one of several parents around the country pursuing cases against the owners of popular video game companies, alleging their games are addictive and pose safety concerns. Now, I don't even need to read this article any further for you to understand that yes, this is definitely something that's going to be, oh yeah, video games are terrible, and let me tell you, it does get to that point, but let me read further just so you guys have some extra context to go off. A Maine mother is suing several popular video game companies, accusing them of profiting off of her 9-year-old and other children who have become addicted to their products. This litigation is not a war on fun, which by the way her complaint was aimed towards. Instead, she claims these corporations, known for games like Fortnite, Minecraft and Roblox, have concealed the known risks of excessive gaming from parents, exploiting a system of endless puzzles, obstacles and add-on purchases that make it harder for kids to log off. It becomes this fantasy world where you never run out of things to do, which is what Henderson's attorney said in an interview. For Henderson's child, Baber said this has come at the expense of their schoolwork, their life and their friends. Henderson is suing Roblox Corporation, Epic Games, Microsoft Corporation and its subsidiary Mojang. The companies did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Wednesday. Now, let's just go back to this sentence where it says it's come at the expense of their schoolwork, their family and their friends. Okay, yeah, that is a problem, but is it really the video game's fault? Reading through this article, it's made me realise that a lot of parents, and I'm not saying this is their intention, but you know, it does kind of seem that they're doing this, to say the least, put the blame on video games. Now, I'm reading this article thinking to myself, why can't you just add some strict measures or rules for your child? Let's say, a certain amount of screen time or log off before a certain time in the evening, rather than putting the blame on video games themselves. That's just like saying, hang on a minute, let's just sue all of those production companies out there that like to make addicting movies. Like, I know a lot of people who are addicted to movies, but you don't see many people blaming movies for being addicting. What are we doing about more serious addictions? Like, let's say alcohol, for instance. Yes, it's massively different, but at the same time, addiction works in the exact same way. Why are we not suing these people, or should I say companies, who make this alcohol? Well, it's because the addiction doesn't actually stem from the company who made it. It stems from the person who's drinking or consuming that alcohol. And yes, although they might make the drink tasty, well, that is kind of their job. They're a company, they provide drinks, and they want their product to be the best. It's the same for the video game companies. They don't make them to make them addicting. The addiction comes in when it gets unhealthy, when the parents don't step in, and when it gets in the way of schoolwork, for example. Yes, that is serious, but that's when the parent needs to step in and not actually blame the video game on that remark. It does actually annoy me a little bit, because reading this, I'm like, okay, well, the fact that it's got in the way of their schoolwork, that is your fault. I mean, does this child have screen time? Do you tell this child to log off at a certain time in the evening? I think not. It sounds to me as if you don't, and unfortunately these video game companies have to put up with these lawsuits and treat them very seriously, although I think personally it's a big waste of their time. Like, why should these companies get blamed for parents not doing the role they're intended to do? Like, it's not the video game company's jobs to teach your children. It's their job to provide an entertaining game, by the way, not just for children, for adults as well. And if it wasn't made entertaining, then people wouldn't play it. That's business, right? If I made a video game company and I wanted to make a game, I would want it to be the most entertaining game I've actually made, purely because I will enjoy it myself, but I also know the people playing it will really enjoy it. I think this is where you're mixing enjoyment with addiction. There are two entirely different things, and yes, one of them is definitely a problem, but if you actually teach your child, to play it healthily, then you might see some positive results out of it. Now, there are other situations, for example, where the parents are actually correct. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's just say, yes, sometimes a lot of video games can unfortunately impose child safety concerns. I'm not going to say that it's relating to playing the game for hours or being addicting, it's a problem. It needs more control, from the parent, and they need to step in. But let's just say other child safety concerns that are very, very, very dangerous and sickening. And in that case, yes, the parents do have a court case to go against, and I absolutely agree with that. But when it comes to blaming or suing a video game for being too addicting, I mean, I think that part of it is ridiculous. When the video game does actually impose serious child safety concerns, not being too addicting, but very other serious ones that, have been mentioned on the news in the past, I absolutely agree with the parents on that one. But when it comes to just saying, oh, video games are addicting, and just for that reason alone, I'm going to sue them for it, that's when, if you're going to start a lawsuit over a video game being addicting, you might as well sue all of the, the film production companies for being addicting, making entertainment content. Henderson's lawsuit raises concerns about child safety, which I do agree with, but focuses more on behavioral health consequences, which I kind of don't agree with. I mean, I get the behavioral health, but at the same time, again, it's not the video game's fault in the way they're playing it. I think you should definitely step in on that anyway. The lawsuit says addiction to video gaming has been a recognized diagnosable mental disorder in the US for more than 10 years, and it cites research showing the ways children's brains change after playing these games. Why are we even making these games if we're just going to sue them over it? Like, if you're going to make a game, they're going to want to make it entertaining. If you want to play a game, you expect it to be entertaining, right? Again, don't get this confused. It's not the video game companies making the child addicted. It's the child's, routine of playing that game, in which case, as a parent, you need to step in and kind of manage. They can play the game, they can have fun playing the game, but in a healthy, environment, if you will, or shall we say a healthy routine. Everything is good in a healthy routine. I'm not saying, an unhealthy routine is good, because that's certainly not good in the slightest. If it's an unhealthy routine, then you need to do something about it. But at the same time, let's not blame video games. I mean, if this is the case, we might as well just ban video games. And that has been a conversation in the past, and it actually quite annoys me because, again, they're all situations that can be controlled, can be managed, but for some reason, people just want to blame video games for it. And again, that's not to say safety concerns don't happen, because they definitely do. And in that situation, I do agree with the parents. But when it comes to just, playing a video game and, for too long, yes, that's bad. But at the same time, that can be managed by you as a parent. Henderson, a Somerset County resident, is seeking financial damages with the amount to be determined in court. Baber said the family also wants to use its lawsuit to modify how these businesses operate. These video games have parental controls, but they basically rely on the child to enlist the parent to pursue the parental controls. There's no age verification on many of the products. Now, yes, when your young child buys a video game, you should probably check it first before they go on it and then switch on the parental controls yourself, rather than, just solely relying on your own child to switch on those controls. Personally, if the video games were to add stricter parental controls, I genuinely don't think there is anything they could implement in order for that to happen. They can only really implement these types of parental controls, rather than saying, oh, they've added parental controls that rely on the child. Well, yeah, okay, well, they don't rely on the child. They're not personally asking the child themselves to initiate those parental controls on the parent's behalf. In fact, we should be thanking them for adding parental controls in the first place, because if they didn't have parental controls at all, then that would be a massive complaint. If they were to make parental controls any stricter, I mean, I don't even think there's another way they can possibly even do that. So the fact they added parental controls in the first place, I think we should be thankful of that. But also, I think that, the parents should take more accountability in being able to activate those parental controls before their child actually plays the game. Let me know if you guys agree on this or not. I'm definitely curious to find out. Everyone does things as hobbies and enjoyment and everything. So let's turn this into a positive thing and just take a little bit more of accountability. Henderson said her child started playing video games at 4 years old and now has a disordered relationship with the games. According to the lawsuit, her child has had outbursts, struggled academically, and has shown a lack of interest in other hobbies. Again, is that the video game's fault, or is that the parents' fault for, not actually implementing some strict screen time for their children? Video games are more accessible today than ever and more profitable, according to the lawsuit. Their profits, the lawsuit claims, depend on how long they can draw kids in and increase what they spend on in-game purchases. It's free to sign up for these games, according to the complaint. While there are some age restrictions on what a user can see in games like Roblox, Henderson's complaint alleges it's easy for children to skirt around them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the parents are fully at fault, although, it does sound like a lot of them aren't taking accountability. I haven't read the full lawsuit, I've only seen this kind of article, so for all we know, it could be getting twisted in their own little way. I have no idea to confirm that, but from what I've heard, it definitely sounds like a lot of parents are just kind of saying, oh yeah, the video games are too addicting. Like I said, don't get this mixed up. I know there are some very other safety concerns that are serious out there, which I do agree with the parents on, and the parents have every right to kind of sue the development companies for those problems. But when it comes to not really having any other safety concerns, just calling the game addicting, that's not something I really agree with. I think these video game producers, or should we say creators, however you want to call them, have a job, have a duty to make their game, their craft, very enjoyable for other people. I think that's their job. That's what they should be doing. If video games weren't enjoyable, there would be no business for video games. There would not be an entire industry because no one would want to play them. It is a business, and yes, at the end of the day, with healthy kind of manageable consumption of this, that is great. But when it comes to, your children falling in a pit of addiction, that's when you as a parent need to step in. And I completely agree with the parents when they say video games need to add more parental controls. I absolutely agree with that. They have a very fair point on that. But when they do, and they still aren't stepping in as parents, that's when the problem occurs. It wasn't until last year that Roblox began allowing parents to limit screen time, and now that only applies to young children, the complaint states. Minecraft restricts what players younger than 16 see, but Henderson's lawsuit claims the game doesn't require age verification or parental consent. All three games were designed with intentionally addictive features, employing psychologists and behavioral health experts to help develop games that are hard to put down, the lawsuit claims. Video games need to add more and more parental controls. I absolutely agree, but at the same time, what else can they do besides add the, generic parental controls? I mean, there might be more they can do, but at the same time, when they do add parental controls, let's not undermine them and say, oh yeah, they're not doing enough, because they don't have to add those parental controls. They are doing it to help you as a parent step in to your child's activity. For video games that don't have parental controls, I absolutely agree with the parents. The video games need to do a lot more for parental controls and guidelines. I absolutely agree. But when it comes to saying that video games with parental controls aren't doing enough, that's when the problem arises. And I know they're not saying that directly, but indirectly, it's definitely, pointing towards that, to say the least. And when it says all three games were designed with intentionally addictive features, maybe entertaining features, again, we're getting this addictive word mixed up with entertaining. If I was to make a video game, right, I would want to add exciting features to it. That is the whole point of designing a video game. Is that not true? I mean, am I missing something here? Because that to me just sounds absolutely absurd. Fortnite, for example, uses an achievement system that rewards users as they complete more missions and shows how they compare to other players according to the lawsuit. This system is designed to keep users engaged with the game, incentivize long periods of gaming over many days, and ultimately increase Epic Games' profits, the complaint states, referring to the company that owns Fortnite. At the end of the article, they also go on to say that they're apparently manipulating the content to increase the amount of playtime that leads to these serious cases of addiction. It's not unknown to people that video game companies do, implement certain strategies to keep people playing. It's called retention. It's what YouTubers do to keep people watching their content. That's not what leads to addiction. What leads to addiction is allowing the person to get into an unhealthy state of consuming it. For instance, let's put you in their shoes, right? You want to build a game and you want to make it the most fun game because you want to enjoy it yourself, but also you want to be quite successful. You want the game to be successful, right? Just like films as well. Okay, I'm going to make a film. I want it to be the most successful film. What can we add to keep people watching or playing? That is just business in general. You know, a company, for example, what did Amazon do? What did YouTube do to keep people on the website? This has been going on for years, guys, and I think a lot of people are actually forgetting that the addiction starts when the parent loses control of their child's consumption of it. I really think, adults, parents in this situation need to be more strict with themselves about how they help their child come away from the screens. I think that's what it's all about, saying that these video games should not be making them fun or implementing strategies to keep people playing. I get it. I get where they're coming from, but to say that, that in itself is terrible because that's where the addiction is coming from, I think that's a bit different. I think that's a bit far too stretched. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. All I'm going to say is I agree with some of the parents when they say, there's a lot more child safety concerns out there, because there is, and I'm not undermining that in whatsoever. The parents have every right to sue the companies if there are genuinely serious child safety concerns. But I mean, come on. When it comes to saying, oh yeah, they're implementing strategies to keep people playing, I mean, that is literally what everyone in the world, every company in the world has been doing to keep people using their products. It's the same with movies. It's the same with products you see on a shelf in a superstore, a shop, wherever you're from, whatever you want to call it. This has been going on for many years now. Anyway, I just had to make a video on this because personally, having that as the sole purpose that you're going to sue a company, I think it's quite absurd, personally. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. And also, do you have a video game addiction, and why do you think that is? Genuinely answer that question. Let me know down below in the comments. Again, I'm not enticing video game addiction. It's a very bad thing. I get it. I get why people are concerned. But again, let's not put the blame on those companies. If you enjoyed this video and you agree with what I'm saying, make sure you give it a like, click subscribe, and also share it with your friends. If you want to see more videos from me, you can click this one on screen, or you can watch my entire playlist to the right of the screen, and if you go over there, leave a comment on them, I'll be replying to every single one of you.